Okay, we begin the next Mishnah. This, Rabbi Isai, is the Mishnah. This is the Mishnah. If there's a Mishnah, this is it. Mishnah Vov. We've been waiting since the time we started Pirkei Avos, which was 6 years ago, because every year we do a different Perek. And finally we get to Perek Vov, Mishnah Vov. There is no Shaila. This is the greatest thing to learn before Shavuos, which is what we're doing, which is Gavaldik. And this is the Mishnah. Now, I'm not going through the entire Mishnah. Look how long it is, yeah? I'm not going through the entire Mishnah, and I'll tell you why you all know this Mishnah. You may not know every word in the Mishnah, but you for sure know what this Mishnah is talking about. Let's begin. Gedola Torah Yoisa mina Kahuna umina Malchus. Torah is greater than Kahuna and Malchus. Why? Where do we know that from? Where's the Raya? Shahamalchus niknes b'shloishim milas. Malchus, kingship, is acquired with 30 attributes. The kahuna be'esrim v'arba, and kahuna is acquired with 24. The haTorah niknes ba'arboim v'shmoina dvarim. Torah is koina, right? Torah is acquired with 48 dvarim things, and this is called the 48 ways of acquiring Torah. Many of us are familiar with some of them, maybe even all of them. If not, let's try to go through them. I'm not going to be able to spend that much time on each of the 48. Otherwise, we'll be here for 48 days, which, by the way, maybe we should do. Maybe we should just do each day another of the 48, which, by the way, is a great series we should do a different time. Anybody want to sponsor that series, you're welcome to send me an email, raw@basedavid.com. By the way, we never mentioned the email. We should mention the email for anyone that wants to give horrors about the share or sponsor a future dedication, please. raw@basedavid.com. BEISDOVID.com. Anyway, Rabbi say, let's go on. So, and I'm just going to go to one today, okay? We're going to do one. Ve'eluhein. And then the Mishnah goes and lists 48 things that the Torah has acquired. We'll try to get through some more Be'ez Hashem in the coming days. We're not going to get to all of these before Shavuos. I'm afraid we're going to have to learn this after Shavuos, which is also fine. Because after Shavuos, we did a Kabbalah Torah. So after you Kabbalah the Torah, now how do I acquire the Torah? So it's actually not schwer to learn this Mishnah even after Shavuos. But I'll call upon him. The Elohein, what are they? And we're going to do one today. The first one. First on the list of the 48 ways of acquiring Torah, but Talmud, with learning. Interesting. Let's explain, Rabbi Say, a little bit of what's going on to try to understand. The first thing the Mishnah is telling us, and this is more of an introduction to this Mishnah and these topics, Torah is completely different to Kahuna and to Malchus. A person, right, does not acquire Torah by it being hereditary, right? It's not something that's passed down, okay? The crown of Kahuna and the crown of Malchus is passed down. It's hereditary. If you were born into that family, you become one of those people. By Torah, it doesn't work that way. As with Steinberg Marash Yeshiva used to always say, Torah is not B'Yerusha. Just because you learn Torah and you love Torah and you sit and learn Torah does not mean that your children are going to learn Torah. It has to be something that's acquired by yourself. There's no raya just because your father is a Baki B'Shas that you're going to be a Baki B'Shas. Something that you have to do. And that's the difference why the Mishnah is telling us that there's a total difference between Kahuna and Malchus, because those are passed down hereditary. Torah is not passed. Torah has to be learned through one's own effort, step by step, and that's the only way to do it. And that's what the Mishnah is basically detailing to us, the steps of how to acquire Torah. Now it's interesting, why does the Mishnah say 48, Arboim V'Shmoina, 48 Devarim, items, things by which the Torah is acquired? Why doesn't it say 48 milas? Because each one is a mila. Mila is an attribute. Why does it say Devarim, things? So the answer that the Medrash Shmuel over here in the Mishnah brings is that the attributes of Kahuna and Malchus are privileges, whereas the 48 ways that are associated with the Kinyan of Torah are obligations that are demanded on a person and demand a person to act in a certain way. In other words, the attribute of a king or a kohen are not traits of who they become, but they're just symbols of their elevated status. Whereas the Kinyane Torah, the 48 things that are associated with someone that learns Torah, it becomes part of your blood, becomes part of who you are, and therefore they refine you, they elevate you, and they make you roy to wear the Keser Torah, the crown of Torah. As I state in the Medrash Shmuel in that case. Another pshat is that the Mefarshim bring over here in the Mishnah is that Malchus and Kahuna, a person can attain all of them at one shot. It's very difficult to attain all 48 ways of the Kinyanei Torah in one shot. They need to be sort of done independently, one by one in that case. Okay, so let's move on. Interestingly enough as well, by the way, an interesting ha'ara is that the list of the 48 items of which a person is Kinyanei Torah can be divided into two groups, 24 and 24. The first group, each item, if you look at the Mishnah, we'll read it at a different time, each item is preceded by a with. Why? Because the first half, the first 24 on the list are the behaviors and the attribute in order to attain Torah. The next list, the next 24 in the list, are preceded by meaning someone who is. And that means these are necessary in order, if you want to attain the Torah, to keep the Torah. So we're dealing with something very, very important, and that is very, very choshev in that case. Now, it's very, very important to realize that there are 48 prerequisites, right? These are ways of Kinyanei Torah. That means having 47 will not really help you. Having 47 will not be enough to be Kinyanei Torah, but it doesn't mean that every Talmud Chacham has every single one of the 48 in that case. In other words, the Mishnah does not say if you don't have 48, you cannot know Torah. No, knowledge of Torah you can have, but to acquire the Kinyan of Torah, to acquire the Torah, to the acquisition, that you need to have all 48 in that case. Okay? And therefore, that's what the Gemara says. A person first learns Torah, but only afterwards it becomes his Torah. He owns the Torah because he's koina the Torah in that case, which is very, very geschmack in that case. Now, you know what's very interesting? And again, we're just going to end with just this one last yisoid. The very first thing is on the list, 48. One of the first of the 48 is betalmud. That's what it means, betalmud, which is interesting, right? Like, I would have thought you can be koina Torah without learning. Like, what's the havamina? All the other ones we'll see are like more midas and understanding and comprehension and retaining whatever. But this is to learn. Obviously, in order to retain Torah, in order to acquire Torah, of course you have to be able to learn Torah. So what does that mean, right? So the answer some bring, that the Yavitz, the Maral bring, is that a person has to learn from a Rebbe. That the Talmud means to learn from a Rebbe, from someone that's older, more experienced, whatever, more knowledgeable. That is the real way that a person can learn Torah, and that's the first mahalach that a person should in that case. There are different mahalchim as well. It doesn't only mean from a Rebbe, but some learn it means with diligence, with hasmada, with perseverance, with mesiras nefesh, not stam. Now, you know, we hear from all the Gedolim, we have stories of Gedolim. Like, for example, there are stories of Rav Scheinberg, my Rosh Yeshiva, who was Yodua. He was one of the biggest Masidim ever to walk through the doors of the Meir Yeshiva. And his hasmada was so great that even like when he washed up the dishes for his wife, he'd prop up a safe over there. So while he was washing the dishes, he was learning. Or the famous mitzvah of someone that walked into his house and he was eating soup. And they looked and like, Rebbe, there's no more soup in there. And he was continuing to do it, but he was learning, so he had no idea. He was so involved. He was so, Chacham Ovadia Yosef, one time the lights went out, so he went outside to the street lamp in order to continue learning, and they found him there the next morning by nates. Do you know what that means? To be involved, the hasmada, the mesiras nefesh that they had to learn Torah was unbelievable. We're living in a generation with technology. Now, you can bash technology as much as you want, but the Matthias is, anyone that's listening to the Shurim or Anytime or on Spotify is because of technology. We're living in a place where we can learn wherever we are, whenever. That's the Matthias. There's Shurim all over the place. There's videos, there's WhatsApp groups, there's Torah Anytime, there's internet, there's a million things that a person has the ability to learn. There's no excuse not to learn all the time. Right? Even when guys are working, whatever it is, you have to be involved in Torah. So the first kinyan that the Mishnah here is telling us in order to acquire Torah, it's not just the simple learning, but it's to be involved in the learning constantly, all the time, whenever you can, from a Rebbe. B'et Hashem, tomorrow we'll try to go through some of the more of the 48 ways.